Ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going to put this down as a thing on the political minute. Moving on from the Biden situation and everything else, I think we really should look at nothing with one of their names in it here for one moment. Nothing at all. I do believe this is the biggest danger to the United States as it stands. I learned about trade triangles back in elementary school and middle school with a computer game, Discover the World. In this, I learned about trade triangles, which is you basically have to have three things that you can move around the world. One basically one person wants, another one another person wants, and another one another person wants. And each of these are less than whatever you start out with. And you can take them back and increase your profits over at your main area because it's what they want to have there. And then they'll give you basically your everyday living expenses that you can expand on. It's a very simple, simplistic game, and you go around and it's based off of, yes, European colonialism. Furs for trinkets and gems, gems and trinkets for silks, and so on and so on. Silks and spices for more ships and more food, guns, and everything else. In this, let me just tell you here, this is the biggest danger for us. I do believe that there's a trade triangle going on. I can try and say this, talk of the street, anything else. I know for a fact that people go on about the movie Made in America with Tom Cruise and how the CIA was selling cocaine and running drugs and then busted all these people and took all their gold for Fort Knox. That's why they haven't audited it in so many years, because they made so much money in gold off of that. Everybody will say it's something else, but we're going to go with that one here. Now, this trade triangle, they were doing some meth in the local area. Most of them were Nazi, Pope Pius, and other assets of the United States government. People had had their own rituals without having to be before the Pope or anything else, or with their liaisons for it. And they were basically using this in a way to overthrow Omar Gaddafi. I would make mention of one person very, very close and to everything that I had basically a year-long relationship with, 2-3 months or something else like that. We're not going to say anything else other than that. And that they were taken in and they were supposedly recruited on the street, which I just go, street recruitments are just people who the government never looked at, and they got picked up because they watched too many Tom Clancy movies and worked for a nefarious group of organizations. Now, in moving along with that and everything, especially when they don't have to go through any training or anything, and it's like your school's training enough. Moving along with that, I say they're selling meth to Afghanistan in the area because they're all shell-shocked, stayed up too long, and it keeps them with the same type of, I don't know how to say it really, that youthful ability to go for 2 or 3 days without sleep. And they still feel that they're going strong. And they're doing that for heroin. And the other thing out there that they're using is child sex labor. There hasn't been much talk about heroin in this country or with the vets. And some of the vets on the television shows and everything else they have on there portraying people, it's methamphetamine. It's not really heroin like in Vietnam days. But it's not really rampant. But it is in most of the areas that are considered the unpopulated, unusable, unneedable places. And I do mean this very openly because I think it's gotten its way into politics. And they all know about it, like with Jerry Epstein and stuff, but they don't want to talk about it. And the child sex is the third situation, or young girl prostitution. It helps with transport, everything else, gives you an open group of mules and everything else with that. And basically from Florida to kind of like Seattle-ish, which is like one or two of like Well, we got to throw in a blue state. We got to throw in this. And it gives us 2 coast access points for like a beltway around the world into USA. And on NBC, they all go on about how, and this was right after Matt Lauer, and I couldn't believe they actually talked about it. It's like the 10 o'clock hour because I get up so late and everything else, to 9 o'clock hour. And they would all be going on about who was able to control their heroin more and everything else. And it's like, well, I'm able to do this. And you don't really hear about that unless it's in the upper crust of society in a way of talking about it. You can't even really get the synthetic hydros and everything else around here. Everything's meth. People pass out with their kids in their car driving around in a circle in a 5-lane highway. Granted, state highway. That stuff happens here all the time, from Florida upwards. And I tell everybody, it's like, I got on this gig here because of I-75 looking for everything. And I'm like going, you need to look at the state highways. They always hit the state highways and byways to go around the state line. And it's like, we're going to be probably close to like, especially in the Beltway states here, as I'm going to call them, for like running heroin and everything else. And I leave Texas out. Texas is so big, you're going to cut like, the eastern side of Texas in a way. But basically through there. And I'd say they're probably going to be coming in Florida Panhandle and skipping Mississippi because people talk so much. And well, Louisiana. They'll hit Mississippi. But people talk around everything. And Mississippi is one of the poorest states in the Union, so it's like they'll try and skip Louisiana unless there's a major shipment coming through those big ports in Texas. And it just runs through there, and they'll be looking about, since weed's legal, making heroin the new legal weed. And they're just going over there, selling the meth, making it here or anything else. If they have to sell it here, yeah, they need some startup cash. Moving it off over to Afghanistan, running women there between and forth with little kids and everything. And then they go over there and they get the heroin, and they get the heroin growing land. And it's like this. Poppy heroin can grow everywhere from the tropics to Afghanistan. So you don't really need to land there unless it's just going to be easier for you to have a legal field. Now, people look at this and say, where is the name of a politician or anything else? I'd love to throw somebody in there that throws needles all around their district saying, my people know what they need to do. And people ain't complaining about heroin. So somebody's looking about being on the front end of that legal wagon. Since weed's going to be legal. It's the only way we're paying off the debt. It may take a president or two, and every time someone says, that's the only way we're paying off the debt, I'm not doing that. We're universal in this. We're not doing that. VP, president, red, blue, everything else. We're not doing that. We would not legalize weed just to get out of a debt situation. And then it's like, well, the Congress made us do that. They went rabid. Oh, the president went rabid and went back on his word. Said he only wanted to be a 4-year, one-term president. Well, I accomplished everything I wanted to, didn't I? Yeah, he kind of did. But anyway, there's my whole situational take on the future of everything. And I really look at it and go, it would be very different if that one politician people are going to bring up to their mind is really going to be on this, being so early on the legal wagon for it, and having really no connections to the other wagon or anything else that's being moved around. And I'm just saying, as it is, I don't think we need to look at it really as blue and red, but a concerted effort of something pushing someone out, which is blue heroin, not being blue Democrat, squeezing whatever it is and then going around and filling in, crushing everything into the middle. And just need to look at it as something along those lines. Out there with it. If there could be some way to not politicize something and say, we're going to use the same colors excuse me, that you all use. And that will be great for us, won't it? whoever the us is. Colin Dawson in the Political Minute. Like and subscribe.